Okay. After reading an article in a Rotary magazine about response to international disasters, I wanted to be involved with an organisation that did that kind of work. So that's what brought me to Rotary. And I know we constantly hear about attracting new members and things, but I think there's a lot of people like me out there who are interested in international service. So the more we tell them about our projects and share the experiences, the better it is, and hopefully bring in more people like myself. I'm assuming a lot of people on here today are already international chairs or will be international chairs in their clubs next year. And I'm sure many of you, or most of you, will have a lot more international experience than I do. But I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of support from the expert team in District. With John Glasgow, who's the Sand Dams coordinator for District 1010, Mike Halley is the Shelter Box coordinator, and Ron McHale is the Shoebox coordinator. And contact details for everybody is available on the handbook and the website. There's also a wealth of experience within the district of clubs who've done lots of projects. So if your club's looking at a new international project and you want or need advice, please let me know. And I probably won't know the answer, but I will know someone who does know the answer and I can put you in touch. So as with everything else, most international projects have been put on hold at the moment due to the pandemic. But I believe that the need will probably be greater as we come out of the pandemic. So I think there will be opportunities for new projects. I've heard lots of clubs saying recently that we should focus on helping people at home, as their need is now as great as the need of those overseas. And one question been asked by a few clubs was regarding the distribution of shoe boxes and whether they should be going to home or overseas. So I will now pass you to Ron McHale and Nigel Danby, and they'll update you on activity during lockdown, etc. So Alice, if you could maybe unmute Ron. Thank you.
Am I unmuted?
You are.
Okay. So good afternoon. It's nice to see all of you. So I'm going to just say a very few words, and we've also got Nigel Danby, who is the chairman of the Rotary Shoebox Trust, and he in fact will take over and do his, I think he's going to do a short presentation, but answer any questions that people might have. My contribution was going to be, we're a very successful district when it comes to the Rotary shoeboxes, and that is thanks to all of you who are involved in that. I see that I've got John Milne on the screen in front of me. He's been a great help in helping boost the number of boxes that we buy. But if I could ask you to just thank these clubs and also to thank all those who support you, that would be appreciated. And I'll now hand you over to Nigel. I can't see Nigel on my screen. Are you there, Nigel?
I'm here.
Okay. Right, you'll need to unmute Nigel.
I'm unmuted, I think.
You are.
You need to speak up. Can you speak up, Nigel? But I can't hear you very well, or I can't hear you very well.
Okay, is that okay for everybody?
I can hear you now. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I can just say thank you very much for joining us today. Very much appreciated. Okay.
Right. Well, it's my pleasure to be with you today, and thank you for the invitation. Obviously, the shoebox scheme in District 1010 has been a major contributor to our charity for a number of years. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you and to bring you up to speed onto where we are at the moment. Hopefully, you're all surviving these rather curious and difficult times. And doing the best we can to keep this charity going. This afternoon, I'm just going to try and bring you up to speed as to where we are and what we hope will be the case in the not too distant future. So first of all, as far as the charity is concerned, we're in lockdown, mainly because we can't have access to our warehouse. But hopefully that won't last too long now, because hopefully things are beginning to relax slightly down here in England. And with shops opening and people going back to work slowly, hopefully the warehouse might be able to open again in the not too distant future. Just to tell you what happened recently, because obviously the bulk of your shoeboxes came to us over the Christmas period. And back in January, we started to arrange a delivery of some of your boxes out to Moldova and Iași in Romania. There were a few complications early in the year, but eventually that lorry loaded and departed at the beginning of March, on March the 17th. And it made its way out to Romania. Unfortunately, having got to Romania, we discovered that we couldn't get into Moldova, and the police wouldn't let the Rotary Club of Iași 2000 get a team together to unload it. So the lorry was stuck in Iași for a little while. But eventually we managed to do a deal with the Prison Fellowship in Cluj, who have their own warehouse and facilities, and they were able to unload the lorry and distribute it around Baia Cluj and one or two other places. So the boxes didn't go to waste, but unfortunately they didn't quite get to the destinations that we'd originally hoped. However, we do have 3/4 of a load in the warehouse at the present time, and had it not been for the current lockdown, the boxes that you're currently holding in Scotland would have been with us to create another full lorry load, which would have been going to Cluj and Baia well, they would have gone by now. So basically what we've done is swap the two loads. So the load that made it to Romania is in Cluj, Tino, Syria and Baia, and the boxes that you currently hold will be added to the ones we've already got, and as soon as the restrictions are lifted, we'll collect those and they will be sent out to Moldova and Iași. So all is not lost on that front. One or two people, and it's already been mentioned as to why are we still going to Romania and Moldova and Ukraine when there are difficulties in the UK. Well, the easy answer is the one that I gave Ron when he asked me this question about a month ago, and that is because the constitution of our charity says we deliver boxes to Eastern Europe. That's a bit too easy, though, to actually justify the answer that I'm giving. What I'd like to do, if I may, just for a minute, is refer to a report that came in from Hope and Homes for Children in Baia. I won't read the whole thing because it's irrelevant, but basically they also are in lockdown because of the coronavirus. And they point out three things: that there are three main groups that have been affected at the present time. Those were families who are already vulnerable or at risk of being separated by their children. Now, as Ron and I both know, Hope and Homes run what they call a protection scheme, and that is to try and intervene whenever a family is in trouble to stop the children having to go into care. That's either because the social or the state, such as it is, would remove the children, but there's also an historical view in Romania, which is a hangover from the communist times, that when you get into trouble, you give your children to the state because they can look after them better than you can. And parents do just literally abandon their children at orphanages and various other places. So one of the major things that Hope and Homes are trying to do is avoid that happening. The second class of people that are in trouble are families where adults were made redundant as a result of businesses closing, and that's seen a severe decline in their financial resources, which up until now they were able to look after the family, but the virus has caused them major issues. And thirdly, where families and adults were working, but having to travel to seasonal jobs, much like the ones that come over to the UK to pick fruit and vegetables. Now their freedom of movement has stopped, and their working therefore has been severely restricted, and they've lost their total source of income and have become quite vulnerable. Now, if you were on a contract and you had a regular job, the government has moved in Romania to try and help. But people who didn't have contracts and regular work or were out of work, they slip through the net. They don't have the social support that we have. So there is a major problem for many, many families in Romania, particularly at the present time. So what have Hope and Homes done? And this is to give you a clue as to how they can help. First of all, they used to keep boxes for children in state care. But there's a problem now because they can't get into the orphanages because they're all in lockdown. So what they've done is reallocate those to vulnerable families. Secondly, they kept boxes back for the Special Olympics, which is something they do in Baimara for the schools. And they're used as prizes for children who are in the local Olympic events. They also have been reallocated for foster carers and to families included in the prevention programme. So all the boxes that were in Baimara have now been used to try and support some of those families. And just to put it in perspective, even people who were working, many of them of the people who receive boxes, even working get minimum wage. And I've checked today, and the current minimum wage in Romania is 417, or the equivalent of £417 a month. And that compares to the UK with £1,393. So very often people in Romania, even with a job, but on minimum wage, still find day-to-day living, albeit it's much cheaper, but they still find it very, very difficult to make ends meet. So you can see there is still a great deal of poverty, a great deal of need, and a total lack of support in many, many cases for many people who fall through the small social security net that operates within Romania. So that's just one country. Moldova is poorer than Romania. Ukraine has many, many problems, and I'm sure you're aware of many of them. So the reason we still send shoeboxes to the east, or to the Eastern European countries, is because there is still a great need. And the reason the charity was set up in the first place was to try and meet that need. And we admit we're not going to alleviate poverty. But what we do is make people a little bit happier on a particular day and show in a practical sense that somebody somewhere does care and that there is some support. And I can assure you, particularly the children, appreciate all the gifts of toys, and the reports we get from some of the parents who just cannot afford to do nice things for the children really appreciate all the gifts that they receive through our shoeboxes. So as I say, the warehouse at the moment is closed. There is 3/4 of a lorry load waiting to go. And as soon as we get the boxes from your Easter collection down here, we will be sending a load out to Romania and Moldova. In terms of the future, we have a stock of flat pack boxes waiting to come to you. So as soon as we can open and we get orders coming in, we are in a position to dispatch. We have the stock, we're ready to go. So really, there's nothing to stop us from immediately getting up and running again the minute the restrictions are lifted and allow us to literally get into the warehouse. I don't think transport would be a huge problem, but physically handling things is at the moment. One other thing that might be of interest to you for the foreseeable future is, whilst all this is going on, we're working on a new computer system. So in the future, you will, at clubs and as individuals, be able to place your orders directly with us through the website. It'll be a real-time system so that you log in, you'll have your own account, you enter your orders, they're processed automatically. And like many other organizations, you will be able to do track and trace on all your orders. So if you're wondering if we've received your order, if we've received your money, where your order is, has it been dispatched, all the other normal things you might be looking for. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, but you will be able to see all of that in future, and club by club you'll be able to see the history of what you've done with the Rotary Shoebox scheme. We're hoping to have that live for July the 1st, which obviously was the launch of the new Rotary year, but whether or not it will actually go live on July the 1st, because like everything else, the people building the system are struggling a little bit with the restrictions of the virus. But we are working behind the scenes to put all that together and give us a far better and comprehensive system that will help us to run the scheme in the future. Hopefully that'll bring you up to date as to where we are. As I say, we fully appreciate the difficulties at the moment, but we also appreciate the support that District 1010 gives us from all the clubs. You contribute very nearly 20% of all of the shoeboxes that go abroad at the present time. And that is a wonderful response. And I'd just like, on behalf of all the scheme members, to say thank you very much. And once again to say, from all the people who receive the boxes, who don't have the opportunity to say thank you, to thank you all on their behalf for the magnificent effort and the wonderful gifts that you send us regularly. And I know this year you've done an Easter collection, which as yet we haven't had the results of down here, but I know you did it. So thank you all tremendously for all the hard work, and we look forward to working with you for a long time, hopefully in the future time to come. So unless anybody, well, I'm sure somebody will have questions. I'm very happy to answer questions, but hopefully that may have brought you up to date a little bit on what's happening with the shoebox scheme. So thank you very much, Ron.
Okay, thanks, Nigel. Are there questions?
Anyone questions, if they'd like to use the hands up? Yeah, I've got one here from Stuart Robeson. I'll just unmute Stuart.
Just to follow on, can you hear me, Ron?
Yeah.
Basically, well, the question I'm asking is, fantastic report there, and covers a lot of things we probably didn't know, right? But if the system's not up in July time, right, what our plan was, where the campaign was on or was off, we're certainly going to buy boxes, you know, buy boxes up front, right? So when would you expect to send us letters to allow us to order if the system's not working?
Normally, I've done that at the beginning of the Rotary year, but I can do it earlier. But it's normally at the beginning of the Rotary year, because on our kind of normal system, we've distributed the order forms, and the boxes have been available for collection at our first council meeting, which has been in September.
Okay, so you'll send a letter anyway, even though
Yes.
the system is
Yes.
on.
Yes.
Okay.
I can see there's a question in the chat box from Michael Goy saying, who chooses these countries? There's many Eastern European countries.
Who chooses them? Well, to a large degree, we do. A colleague of mine, I mean, we're a very small committee, believe me, but one of the founder trustees, Peter Clare, who many of you will know and have met, he looks after most of the international liaison, and we work with the charities that we work with and the Rotary clubs through recommendation. People approach us and ask if they can have shoeboxes. One of the things we are very careful to do is make sure that anybody who receives our boxes handles them properly. And so we always vet anybody or any organisation before we will let them have boxes, and that includes a personal visit. So whichever country they're in, we would, before we give them anything, visit them, find out what their circumstances are, who they want to give the boxes to, and how they're going to do it. Once we've got the confidence in the organisation that wants the boxes, we would then give them a sample run. Now, depending on how big the charity is, that could be anything up to 5,000 boxes. And we would work, well, we'd watch what they do with the boxes. after every delivery we make to any organisation, we demand, I was going to say we ask for, but we actually demand a report as to what has happened to those boxes, where have they gone, what are the circumstances, who's received them, so that we can, to the very best of our ability, account for every box that's gone out there. Because the last thing we want to happen is to let them fall into the hands of the black market, if you like, because we do know that where controls are not in place, the contents or indeed full boxes end up on local marketplaces being sold. We try to avoid that. But we will decide who should receive our boxes. And as I say, there's a very, very firm vetting process before we let any go. But in terms of how do we find new ones, we're always looking for new outlets. And certainly there is no limit to where we could go in Eastern Europe. Certainly the Balkans is an area we've looked at. I'd like to do more in Ukraine. The problem we have is twofold. One is finding the distributors, and two is running out of boxes. In order to fulfill more, we need more boxes. And it's as simple as that. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thanks. Alistair, can I suggest, so we can move on, if there's any further questions, we put them on the chat box and then we can pick them up at the end. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Nigel. Thank you, Ron, and thank you for joining us. And as I say, if there's any further questions, add them to the chat box and we'll pick them up at the end. Okay, so moving forward, I'm sure there's clubs out there who would like to be involved in a project, but for various reasons, they would prefer not to, or they don't have the capacity to take on a project in their own club. This year's Rotary slogan is Rotary opens opportunities. So we'll now hear from Stuart and Nick from Moneyfees and District, and then from John Miles of Rotary's Avoidable Blindness Charity Global Site Solutions. And both will talk to us about opportunities for involvement from other clubs in projects that are ongoing or new projects. So are you okay if Stuart, can you unmute Stuart Robertson, please, Alistair?
Stuart should be able to unmute himself now.
Need to unmute yourself, Stuart. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You okay? Can you hear me, Alistair?
Yeah, that's fine, Stuart.
Right, okay. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. First of all, thank you, Mary, for the introduction there in respect to giving the motto for this year in respect to an opportunity, and hopefully what we are going to tell you just now is giving you an opportunity to do something, you know. First of all, my name is Stuart Robertson, as maybe some of you know. In fact, John Glastonbury knows us. I'm the international convener at the Rotary Club in Moneyfees and District. As many of you be aware, the City of Dundee, as well as the County of Angus and many parts of Scotland, have been involved with India. I've had links with India for many, many years through business connections related primarily to jute. So a challenge was given to one of our members, a Dr. Pritish Gua, a few years ago, who incidentally stays in Calcutta for 4 months a year, to find a project with one of the local Rotary clubs that we could support and help the community in the areas of West Bengal. Through the initial contact with Pritish, the Rotary Club of Moneyfees have partnered the Rotary Club of Calcutta for over 5 years now, and we've been involved with free water and sanitation projects in the northeast India, and in total installing over 400 toilets, 40 wells to 15 villages, and helping over 3,000 people. Has been a fantastic achievement. Twice we have led have been a lead partner, and once as a contributing partner with the Rotary Club of Dundee as the lead partner. Rotary Club of Calcutta are a well-organised club with hands-on senior Rotarians and have real success in delivering projects in a challenging environment. The Rotary Club of Montefiore have inputted equivalent of $10,000, and using the global grant system, we have secured the funding of $145,000 in total to do these projects. 5 other Rotary clubs in the 1010 area have also contributed, being Arbroath, Broughty Ferry, who are with the old Abertay, Claverhouse, Dundee, and our friends in Inverness, Culloden. The Rotary Club of Calcutta earlier this year put a bid in for a $2 million Programme of Scale Award, which has been introduced by the RI for the first time. There was over 70 applications for the £2 million, but narrowly they missed out and have been in the shortlist for the final few. The Calcutta are currently involved with 2 other wash projects, but since the setback or the scale grant application, they're looking to progress with a further 6 wash project, or we call it WASH 6, right? This is a $50,000 global grant, and Calcutta need a lead partner, a lead international partner, to contribute in the region of about £3,000 or £3,200, with other partners contributing in the region of about £750 to £800 to achieve this. This is a project this project is to be in the villages close to the area which benefited previously from the work, along the borders of West Bengal and Jharkhand states, and will result in 100 toilets, 10 bore wells for clean water being installed. It also involves, here's a real opportunity for individuals, the possibility of buy your own toilet for £200, and you actually get your name in the front of the toilet. So anytime you go there, you can say, well, that was my toilet there, right? If you think your club would be interested in getting involved with these projects, and I say that we have many stories nowadays where we put money abroad, we don't know if it's safe or what it is. We have had no problems at all, right? But if you're interested at all in being a lead partner, getting involved, talking to us, please contact our Nick, who's going to talk in a minute, or myself, and we'll give you as much information as possible, right? It's been certainly a truly rewarding experience I've felt in the matter, and it's certainly a worthwhile experience. So let me pass you over to Nick, who actually visited the area a few years ago with one of our other colleagues, and he actually met the people on the ground, and who better to tell you a wee bit more about it than Nick. I'll leave you to him. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stuart. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Yes, just to introduce myself, I'm Nick Day of Montefiore District Rotary Club. I'm one of Stuart's international team. If you've been involved in international projects, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that having a reliable partner in the host country is a really important factor in delivering. To this end, very early on in our involvement with the Rotary Club of Calcutta, my colleague Hugh Begg and myself went out to Kolkata and West Bengal and spent 2 weeks there in January and February 2016, and not only visiting Kolkata but also visiting the villages in West Bengal, which we're helping in the first WASH project, water and sanitation project, that is. Memorable things from our visit included obviously going to those villages, but also very importantly seeing the organization of our partners, the Rotary Club of Calcutta, which has given us confidence to go on and support more projects. Rotary Club of Calcutta, which they still insist on calling themselves Calcutta, even though the city is now Kolkata, they have a big membership, 230 people, Rotarians. This is their centenary year. They're the oldest club in Asia, and they're older than every club in our district apart from Aberdeen and Perth, I believe. They're very impressive, as Stuart said, hands-on senior Rotarians. They make regular visits to the villages, which are as much as 4 hours drive away, depending on the location. And right from the start, the most important thing they have to do is win the confidence of the villagers, who are naturally a bit wary about people coming from the towns and offering them free gifts. What they do in particular very well is hygiene training, and they get it into the mindset of the people, of the values of this, particularly how to use the toilets properly, because they haven't done that before, and also very topically here, the importance of washing hands. So they've won the confidence of the villagers. The other thing that is really important is their project management. They do the implementation either through Rotary Community Corps or in most cases through a well-respected NGO. They do a lot of follow-up visits, and the projects are sustainable in that they make agreements with the local panchayats, as they're called, the local authority, who will step in where the villages themselves can't do the maintenance. They have a very thorough financial and legal framework, so they make the reporting to Rotary International, which is very strict and rigid, as you probably know, is done properly. The projects are sustainable. They even go to the lengths of things like testing the water, because there has been a record in Bangladesh of arsenic in the wells and a lot of fluoride in the wells, and so they organise tests to make sure that the water that they found is pure before anyone can use it. And Rotary International were particularly keen to see that. The other thing that we insisted that they do is you're allowed, in a global grant project, you're allowed a 10% contingency, and we from Monteith insisted that they did use that. They did have a 10% contingency, because in these projects, particularly when you're boring for wells, things will go wrong. And there have been 1 or 2 well failures, but we've had the resources to step in with the contingency. And any leftover contingency we've been able to use to provide additional toilets. So that's worked well. The other memorable thing about the visit was actually going to the villages, of course. And the people that Hugh and I saw were Adibashi tribal people, who are basically a very basic rural economy, quite isolated. But we saw very clearly that the benefits that they were receiving from the toilets and the wells, which had only just by that time been installed. And we know that they are still been in contact, and we know that they're still very happy. Amongst the benefits in particular is the fact that the education is improved, and teenage girls are much more inclined to go to the schools, which also we have provided toilets to some of the schools as well, and proper washing facilities. There's also obviously the great hygiene benefits, which in turn improves the productivity in a rural farming community. One of my enduring memories of our visit was as we were coming out of one of the villages which we had helped in the first project. We drove through another village, and the ladies of that village came out and blocked the track and stopped the van which we were travelling in, and pleaded with the Rotary Club of Calcutta Rotarians that could they have the same treatment as the water and toilets that their neighbours had. And I'm pleased to say that that has now happened. But there are hundreds of villages in West Bengal and the Yarkand state which are still do not have water or toilets, and basically there is open defecation, which is obviously highly unhygienic, and the water tends to be a filthy, dirty pond, which is used for every purpose, from drinking and cooking and washing the clothes, and the cattle also wandering around in them. So there is a great need still, and what we found is there is a tried and tested process, trusted process, working with the Rotary Club of Calcutta. So we're confident in doing more projects, and if you are interested at all in these projects, we'd be very pleased to talk to you if you would like to get involved. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick and Stuart. Do we have any questions? I don't know, can you see any hands, Alistair?
No, there's nothing on my screen.
Well, thanks for listening anyway, right? And say there's a great opportunity. One thing Nick never mentioned, can you hear me all? Can you?
Yep.
Is it, you know, the thing we forget nowadays sometimes is the fellowship part of Rotary, right? And particularly just now, I suppose, when we're so isolated, like, you know. But Sam and Ray of Calcutta and a few other ones have visited Dundee and Monteith, etc., a number of occasions. And it's nice for them to come to this country to explain what's going on and be to give us an update, and vice versa with Nick going to India. So for anybody who's interested in being a lead club or being a partner, it's a wonderful experience. Be assured of that. Thank you. Thank you all.
I have a question in the chat box.
All
Sorry,
right.
Alistair.
Okay, I just wanted to quickly ask Stuart and Nick, just for clubs, just to be sure, any club that wanted to get involved, should they just contact you at Monteith?
Of course, just give us a buzz, and I'll give you my phone number, the same as Nick as well, as you appreciate, right? And give us a phone, and we'd be more than happy to guide you through and help you to understand what the basis is.
If there was more than one club, you know, say you said you were looking for sort of 3,200. If there was, you know, a combination of 2 or 3 clubs and maybe wanted to put that together for that, would that be okay?
Nick, on you go.
Yeah, well, there has to be a lead international club, and who is responsible jointly with Calcutta for delivery of the project. So all the projects we've done, the lead club has put in £3,000 equivalent, or slightly more. I mean, it is possible to have less than that, but basically, in order to undertake the project, we need to get something like £6,000 from local clubs, and we've also talked to Bill Ross about this. But we will need to make it financially stack up to 50,000. We need a contribution from the district dedicated fund as well. So it's a matter of putting a package together. If we got 10 clubs putting in £700 or something, that would do as well. But it would also be more likely to be a doable thing if we have someone volunteering to be a lead club, which we've done twice, Dundee once, and then other clubs contributing. But certainly, if you're I mean, it is another possibility would be the league club doesn't have to be in the UK, the international club. There's WASH 3 is being led by the Rotary Club of Mississauga West, which you all know is next to Toronto, and WASH 5 is being led by, WASH 5 is actually being led by the Rotary Club of Battersea Park, who we have formed a close relationship with. So it's basically anyone who is interested in contributing, that would be great. If you want to be a league club, that would be great as well. So, you know, I think what would be, I don't know if Mary, you can actually put our email addresses on the list of people, so that people know Stuart and my email address. That might be the easiest way of them contacting us. Is that possible?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So if you do that, maybe to all the clubs, and you know, they'll be then very, very welcome. And Stuart and I would definitely follow that up. I mean, I have to just add that the Rotary Club of Calcutta, I mean, India is a contrast between poverty and wealth, as you probably know. And the Rotary Club of Calcutta they have made substantial contributions to all these projects, sort of matching the amount of money that is being put in from Scotland, and they also get money from their district as well. and then that formula allows the World Fund. So out of the $50,000, we'd expect $20,000 or so to come from the World Fund, and that's the mechanism that makes it work.
Also, just to I suppose, give us some confidence, we're not intending to walk away from it. We're certainly, we don't want to be a league club. We want to give somebody else a chance of that, right? But we're quite happy to put, if the budget gets passed, by the way, £500 a contribution to being a partner in another WASH project, right? So we're there anyway if it takes off the ground to help. And with respect to when Dundee was the lead club, a lot of the grant application and also the communication we helped with as well. So it was a real partnership.
Thanks, Stuart.
Okay, thank you for that. So, as I say, this Rotary year is Rotary opens opportunities. I think for any club who's looking to take their first step, maybe even into an international project, speak to Stuart and Nick. There might be an opportunity to get involved in this one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We do have a question in the chat box asking, I think, do we have, sorry, seconds, I'll log on and have a look. Is there a summary available for the Calcutta project?
Yeah, we can give you, who can tell? Yeah, we can supply something like that to, we've got a few summaries lying about now, as you appreciate, right? There's actually a spreadsheet in respect to, it tells you the money aspect against the number of toilets and that we have completed, you know. We can do that, and we can supply written details. Just ask the questioners. Can somebody tell me? It's Elizabeth, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, somebody after Elizabeth. Where's Elizabeth?
Is she still muted, Alistair?
Yeah, I'm unmuted now.
Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of summary are you after?
No, just a summary of the project, an overview that can be presented to our members.
Right.
What the sort of finances of it are, and how, as you say, the cost of individual toilets and how it works, as this is of interest.
Okay.
The most important thing is what you were suggesting about the reliable club in Calcutta that's produced some excellent support for these ongoing projects. This is the main concern of a club looking to start one of these projects. So it sounds very, very well structured what you've done there.
Good. Well, we'll get something circulated and certainly to yourself. What club are you in, Elizabeth?
The Rotary Club of East Sutherland.
East Sutherland. Oh, you're up in there, right? Okay. Well, as I say, this is the reason we're here today. So we're happy to supply the material.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for that. I will say that they've obviously got a wealth of experience in this club, but there are also other clubs out there with wealth of experience in projects. Most of what I know about WASH projects, I've learned from Stuart and his team. So everybody's happy to be contacted and help out with any projects. On the theme of opening opportunities, I would now like to ask John Miles to speak to us. John will talk to us a bit about the charity and the exciting opportunity for a new ambassador for the Global Site Solutions. So if you're okay to unmute John, please.
I've unmuted myself, very precociously of me. Now I'm hoping when I click the share screen thing that I'll be able to share screen. It's not the end of the world if we can't. So, oh yes, look. It's a PowerPoint. Can you see it? And I will fire it up in a minute.
We can, yeah.
Okay. What I would like to say first, and this is not helping my cause, rather the previous cause, is that not only do I know Calcutta Rotary Club very well, but I actually attended their centenary bash. And the two people from Battersea Park were there. I'm not sure how much I'd had to drink, but I think I might have danced with the woman rather than the man. But it was a very good event, and I can more than happy to give Calcutta and Salmon a glowing reference. So anyway, let me get on with what I'm here for. As you've already identified me, I'm John Miles. I'm a member of Leatherhead Rotary Club, and if you're interested in such minutiae, that's in District 1145. I'm also one of the trustees of Global Site Solutions, which was up until close on 4 years ago, known as the Guildford Rotary Eye Project. At its simplest, we changed the name simply to attract support from beyond our rather wonderful Rotary bubble. So I'll rattle through some facts to give you a feeling of what it's all about. And as Mary has already kindly mentioned, I'll then briefly talk about ambassadors. The overview is that there is an estimate, depends who you ask, of those suffering from treatable sight problems worldwide of between 350 million and 650 million. Those numbers relating only to these poor souls that are just too poor to be able to access treatment for themselves. Probably about half are in need of a decent pair of prescription specs. Another 40 million suffer from river blindness, and millions more suffer from that extremely dangerous and painful disease trichoma. Many, many more suffer from glaucoma and any one of a range of retinal issues in the same sort of proportions as we do in the developed world. There is one other category, estimated to be close to 50 million people, often called preventable blindness. We slightly prefer to call it avoidable blindness, and this is Global Site Solutions' area of involvement. About 80% of the people in that category are in need of what is normally a pretty straightforward cataract operation. Obviously, they have other eye care problems as well, but that is the, the core business, if you like. Now, about 18 of that 50 million live in the Indian subcontinent, with 3 to 4 million of that number being in the Calcutta, West Bengal area, which is where this charity started its work. That's how I came to know Calcutta Rotary Club. Now, Global Site Solutions is therefore an avoidable blindness charity, and by that I mean it provides free eye care, such as cataract operations, to the poor in India and Africa, and soon we plan elsewhere. Edited highlights are, not particularly highlights, but edited information is that the 4 primary causes of people being avoidably blind are as follows: poor diet. And by that, I mean no variety, no vitamin A, no green veggies. Genetic problems, DNA defects, defects in this particular incidence adversely affecting people's ability to see. And that is a huge problem in the Indian subcontinent. More generally, poor education or no education at all, which means that people can be left vulnerable when faced with new dangers, dangers which could endanger their eyesight, as well as other faculties, of course. Poor living standards, and this touches on what we've heard recently. The need for clean drinking water and decent sanitation facilities. Having neither of those exposes people to disease and infection, which can lead, of course, to all sorts of medical problems. And sadly, high on the list of those problems always seems to be an adverse effect on people's ability to see. Now, there are other very worthy charities helping the avoidably blind. However, the majority tend to parachute surgeons into an area for a few weeks, fund them as they can, or alternatively, other people have established mobile camps. But sadly, this is very much yesterday's product because of the difficulties in achieving the necessary surgical cleanliness standards that are required.
John, sorry, could I interrupt you for a second? I don't know if your slides are...
Oh, I have forgotten to print. Thank you, Mary. Yes, it won't make much difference because they're not coordinated with my speech, but thank you so much. The check's not in the post, but my thoughts are. Global Site Solutions uniquely forms partnerships with Rotary clubs and their districts in the areas of need. And a bit like Calcutta and your previous enterprise, that club abroad needs to take responsibility for several substantial items. They must, in this case, admit to administering the hospital, i.e. running it, and that is always done through a legally constituted trust. They must commit to undertaking the assessment of potential patients, especially the essential outreach assessment work. In other words, it's vital that they're aware that they need to go out into the rural communities, find out who's got eye problems, and then resolve them by bringing them back to the hospital. Now, no mean commitment is that they must provide the building which will become the hospital. 2 reasons. 1, global grants quite sensibly exclude the cost of buildings. And 2, it does sell rather well here with people that we are trying to gain support from, because they realise the commitment has been put there by our partners. Funding. They are made aware that wherever possible, they should equally fund with their Rotary partners us in what we very optimistically call the developed world. Now, they are also aware that as soon as the hospital opens, they must start to develop strings of income, which in a few years' time will enable the hospital to become financially freestanding. That all important word, sustainable, in this case, financial sustainability. So, edited highlights again, how do they derive such an income? Typically by attracting private patients, by running a pharmacy that has Rotary in the name, because Rotary is a trusted brand in the developing world, and people know that the pills they're going to get are the pills they thought they were going to get. An optical shop, spectacle shop, not much of an eye hospital without one, you might think, but there is an opportunity, understandably, to make money out of the ones that you can sell to those with some disposable income. We've also found that if they're inclined to set up a basic well-man, well-woman clinic facility, that private people will come and use it on an annual basis rather than trudge off to the big city or wherever. Over the years, we've seen some interesting entrepreneurial activities put in place by local Rotarians. When you bundle all that together, you find that you've got an income which will enable the hospital to balance its books. Fingers crossed, no hospitals so far have taken more than 5 years to balance their books. Now, we fund everything we do via the marvels of global grants, as indeed do other people. By using a Rotary Foundation grant, the Global Site Solutions can provide a complete cataract operation service, which has never cost more than £15 in the areas we work, for a donation of just £5 here in the UK. If you know your global grants, you'll be aware that that £5 will grow within one to at least the £15 cost of a cataract operation, and invariably will gear up to £25 worth of funding. Now, I don't know whether the word of the changes within the global grant system has reached everybody, but my sums do include the new situation being that as from July the 1st, whilst DDF still attracts 100% of a grant, club funding no longer attracts the 50% or any bonus at all. And obviously us charities will have to accommodate that. We use the same formula when it comes to funding the surgical equipment, the assessment equipment, an outreach vehicle or two, and we start by gathering approximately £12,000 of hard-earned club funds from within the developed world. And you may be flattered to know that the majority invariably, but not always, comes from RIBI land, as I like to call it. We've had some noticeable and ongoing funding from other developed world countries. Now, this £12,000 can, of course, come from any number of clubs in any number of districts, and assuming those districts are able to support in the usual way, DDF, our bundle of domestic funding is then added to a similar bundle from our partners abroad, and then you have the TRF grant money going on it, and my revised figures say that we will have achieved a $90,000 project value, which fortunately is enough for the basic startup items for nearly all the projects that we've found ourselves involved with. So the magic figures, £12,000 of club money regularly enables $90,000 worth of project value as of the 1st of July. And incidentally, Global Site Solutions is always happy to administer each and every global grant it's involved with, because it is an offshoot of Guildford Rotary Club. And without showing off, they've done, I think, is 120 something or other matching global grants. So they're competent, to put it mildly. If other people want to take on the role, we will not stop them doing so. Now, very briefly, this charity started in 1994, and by 2011 had enabled 28 Rotary Eye Hospitals. Our latest and current target was announced in 2011, and that is to put in place a further 50 over a 10-year period. And we're getting very close to the end of that. All I can say is we're going to be pretty close to that target. And now my wife Fiona is also a Rotarian, and I went abroad at our own cost for 3 months to visit 7 countries, including India. As a result, in addition to supporting hospitals in India who wish to expand, and obviously that's an economical way forward, we also now have the following additional projects in the pipeline, i.e. added to the 50. A new hospital in Pakistan, it'll be our first, and the first of, we think, 6. 8 more in India, another one in Nigeria, which will bring us up to 3, and that'll be out of town north of Lagos. So that's the 1 + 8 + 1, that's the 10. And we expect, COVID permitting, and i.e. not just COVID permitting, but funding issues surrounding the effects that COVID will have, we expect that all those hospitals will be opened in the next 3 or 4 years. We also have encouraging prospects of a hospital in Uganda and one in Kenya. In the last 4 years or so, we have taken the positive decision to seriously consider all inquiries from wherever in the developing world. We opened our first Rotary Eye Hospital in the Lebanon in 2018, and we've been chugging away for a few years now to open our first one in Bangladesh. I believe if it hadn't been for the ramifications of COVID, the doors would just about be open. So I dare say come July, that hospital will be open for business. And that, of course, will take account for my next Christmas holiday. Not that they're very good at celebrating Christmas. When all the planned hospitals that I've mentioned are in full production, we will have a capacity of greater than 180,000 cataract operations per annum. That is a significant figure because the statisticians amongst us say that that is the figure that will start to outstrip the average annual increase amongst the poor and developing world. In other words, we will, at long last, see the total need decreasing. Incidentally, that figure is equivalent to 50% of what is done in this entire UK each year in terms of cataract operations. So, needless to say, to fund all our ambitions, like all charities, we do need to find ways of continuing to increase our income. And I would be naive, stupid, and whatever to say that I plotted a course through COVID. But we're probably better suited than most because we don't overgear the money that we have. Recently, and we previously decided this, as from May the 1st, we have decided to employ experts part-time in social media and the skills necessary to obtain corporate support. They are the only ones to get paid, all us trustees, being rich people from Surrey, we can afford to pay for ourselves. I don't think my colleagues would regard themselves as rich any more than I do. In amongst other items on our wish list is to obtain more volunteers, and this is what Mary alluded to. We have up and down the country, I think it's 36 or 37 ambassadors. You can call them volunteers if you like. All bar one is actually a Rotarian, and we are actively looking for somebody in the Aberdeen area who might be kind enough to spend a little time waving our flag. So we'd like to encourage people, regardless of whether they're Rotarians or non-Rotarians, to seriously consider helping us as our local ambassador. It's not, I trust you, an onerous activity, very much a case of what they, the individual, wish to bring to the table, certainly not us cracking the whip. So please, I'd be very grateful if you consider, spread the word within your clubs that we're looking for somebody, and tell people outside your clubs, because that is an awfully good bit of Rotary that needs doing regularly. Tell our bigger communities what Rotary is all about, and hopefully I'll have an excuse to come to the Aberdeen area as soon as we can come to Aberdeen, and talk to whoever is wishing to help us. We can provide all the training. I'm certainly not an eye surgeon. We do have lots of leaflets. If anybody, regardless of whether you want to become an ambassador or not, is interested in a leaflet, more than happy, if you give me your address, to post them off to you, and you can circulate them to your clubs. Mary has my phone and email details, and I'm sure that's me having overrun, as I always do. So can I just say thank you so much for listening. I hope you can find us an ambassador, and who knows, you might even be willing to pop in a little bit of money to one of our projects. We always have them ongoing. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you. Okay. Over to you.
Okay, do we have any questions for John?
Good.
That's good.
At least I think that's good, is it?
It's difficult to see because there's been between about, there's now 56 people on, there was 60 at one time, so it's trying to see if anybody's got their hands up, but
okay.
If we've missed anybody, just put a question in the chat box, yeah?
Yeah, or, you know, if you'd be kind enough to pass them on if we've gone our separate ways in a little while, I'm more than happy to phone people up or email them or whatever.
Okay, well, it's difficult to say a lot in an hour, and I was trying to stick to the, or get a flavour of the Rotary sort of theme for the year of opportunities. You can see there are opportunities with Stuart and Nick's club. There's opportunities with John's global site thing. I'm sure there's lots of other clubs out there who have opportunities for clubs to work along with them. What I'd like to do going forward is, obviously Zoom meetings have changed the way Rotary works, and it's made it a lot easier to meet with other people without travelling distances and spending hours. I'm really interested to hear about ongoing and completed projects, and I think most of the people on here are too, and that's why we're all here. I thought it might be an idea if we could set up a Zoom meeting once a month, once every 6 weeks or something, where different clubs could talk about their projects, showcase what they've done, and we could follow it by a Q&A or a lessons learned or advice requested type of discussion, just a general discussion of what projects are happening in clubs, and learn from each other, and, you know, find out what's going on. So if anyone's interested in that, drop me an email or put it in the chat box or get in touch, and we'll try and set something up. I'm just trying to see, there's a couple of questions have come into the chat box here. What would be involved for an ambassador? Would you be able to send some more information? And that's from Alan Wink, Alan, which I can pass on.
Alan, if you'd care to give me your contact details, because it's easier for me to wrap it over the phone rather than try and send everything. It's really a question of which skills you would like to bring. You might be somebody that, under normal circumstances, is dead keen on setting up fundraising events. You might, which is the conventional way, be interested in having one of our specimen presentations and going off to speak to clubs. But I'm not going to box any idea in, but if you'd be kind enough to pass on your contact details, like all of us, I'm at home all the time now, so there's very little reason why I can't phone you almost instantly. And I'm just reading something about Nepal there. Somebody else wanted to know which club I was with. It's Leatherhead. Not proud, not ashamed, just a matter of fact. I'm a member at Leatherhead Rotary Club, which is sort of M25-ish, really.
Okay, and I'm glad to see a couple of people have come back and said they would be interested in some monthly meetings, and Muir have offered to speak about their project. So I will try and organise something going forward. I'd like to go back. I think there was a question for yourself, Nigel, that came in after. It was, 2 seconds, I'll go back. Oh, is there any problem with sanitisation of box content for future collections?
Obviously, there is a worry about that, but my understanding, although I have no medical background at all, but having listened to various daily reports from the government, there happens to be a lifetime of how long the virus would live on any item. Now, my understanding is that it doesn't last for that long, obviously dependent on the material. It can last, I believe, for up to sort of 3 or 4 days. So in terms of the actual box contents and the boxes that have been in storage, there shouldn't be a problem at all. Obviously, we will take precautions in handling new boxes coming in as long as we're expected to do so. But how you sanitize the contents of a box is a bit beyond me, but we will take advice. But I wouldn't want that to sort of stop people thinking we don't want boxes. We will handle the problem in whichever way we're suggested. But I mean, at the moment, we've got delivery companies operating all around the country, handling boxes on a daily basis. So there is obviously some expertise out there that we can learn from. And I don't think it would become an insurmountable problem, but we will have a look at it.
Okay, thank you, Nigel. Does anyone have any questions for any of our speakers today? Or any further questions?
Yes, it's Alan Wink here. I was just wondering if I could get John's contact details so I can give him mine.
Okay. I'm sure Mary will be happy to be an intermediary.
Yes, I will pass them on to you, Alan.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay, if there's no other questions, then I would just like to say thanks to everyone for joining us today, and especially to our speakers for their excellent contributions.
As unmuted.
Oh, sorry. Somebody else? No. Yeah?
What's your mic?
Mackenzie?
That's me.
Yes.
My wife and I are both very young Rotarians. Maybe not by looks, but we haven't been involved in Rotary that long. What I would like to say is it's been a very constructive and interesting talk from all the speakers this afternoon. And you hear of all aspects of Rotary when you join, but most of what you hear goes straight over the top of your head. What we have heard over the past 3 Zoom meetings has been very informative and helpful as far as we are concerned. And really, what you said earlier, Mary, it would be a good idea maybe if we did have a Zoom meeting on different aspects of Rotary, maybe once a month or 6 weeks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's probably as much for you as me, Alistair. Yeah.
Yes, it was indeed.
Okay, if there's no other questions, then again, I'd like to pass on my thanks to everyone and say enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for putting it together, Mary. That's very kind of you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's going to go after you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mary.
very much.
Bye, John.
Cheers, Nigel. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you as well.
Bye, thank you all.